Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Business Building Mobile Bar Live. I am going to talk to you today about how you fascinate. This week, I took our Exceeders, which is the group program that we have for are more advanced mobile bar owners. So people who have been in the business for longer than 18 months and are already in the six-figure revenue stage. They every 2 weeks we have a lesson. And this past lesson, we actually, this wasn't even a lesson. This was the half-day workshop. We went really deep on leadership style and how they show up in the world. And one of the things that we talked about was how you fascinate. Now, this is based on a book by Sally Hogshead, and she wrote a number of books: Fascinate, How You Fascinate, How the World Sees You, a number of different books. But the one that I want to talk about today is specifically, I linked it in the comments. Hopefully you can see it, How the World Sees You by Sally Hogshead. And I love this book because unlike a lot of personality tests, there's a test that comes with it. So you can take it. If you buy the book, you get it free, or you can buy it. So I purchased it for the Exceed group and everybody took it. And what's brilliant about it is that most of the personality tests that you'll take is how you see yourself. And this particular one is how the world sees you. And I wanted to share the 7 different types of how people fascinate with you today for a couple different reasons. One of them is your primary method of fascination. You have to take the test in order to figure out which one it is. But when it comes to marketing, you and your business will be exceedingly more powerful in your messaging when you show up with your primary form of fascination. But you can use a number of different types of forms of fascination in order to kind of figure out how you like showing up most, but also what attracts your clients the most. And so I don't have a slideshow or anything for you. This did not originate from my content. So I'm going to encourage you to go buy the book, read the book. My team has read it, or at least Dawn has read it. I've read it. And it's really changed the way that we are able to show up in our marketing. So I find this to be a super valuable share. So there are 7 forms of fascination. She calls them triggers of fascination. The first one that is lust. And all of these are based on instinctive needs. So this isn't something that someone like sets out and they're like, I'm going to be attracted to this today. Or I'm going to be fascinated by such and such today. These are all things that are instinctual. They come for the need to hunt, control, feel secure, nurture, or be nurtured. And it's subconscious. So, and we are all looking to be fascinated every day. That we can't help ourselves, right? So there's 7 forms. I'm sorry, but I've got some in my throat. Let me see if I can. Okay, so the first one is lust. When you use lust, you are creating a craving for sensory pleasure. So if you were to show up with what's coming to mind is like a chocolate covered strawberry. Like if you watch something or somebody eat a chocolate covered strawberry, you probably are also engaging your brain in like, oh, I know what chocolate tastes like. I know what a strawberry tastes like, the sweetness of it in your mouth. And so you're tempting someone through lust. We don't see this a whole lot in the mobile bar marketing, but it is one way that you could utilize marketing to fascinate. I'm thinking like a slow motion cocktail, something like that, where it's like tempting somebody like, oh, that looks so good, right? That would be lust. The second way is mystique. And mystique lures with unanswered questions. So if you ever see anyone show up that's like, hey, an amazing thing is coming, I'm going to drop it, slide into my DMs for early access, that's mystique. Now, this is my not one of mine at all, but it is Dawn, my COO. It's her primary form of fascination, and so people are drawn to her because of the unanswered questions. That is not my primary form. People are not sliding into my DMs with, tell me more, tell me more. So mystique is wherever you would like tease or give a little peek, and then they'll have to chase you to get more information. Everybody loves a good mystery, right? Some people more so than others. And some people are really good at creating the myth and the mystery. Facebook user says, very annoying. Some people love it. Other people are just like, give me the answer already, right? So if that's annoying to you, you probably would not use mystique in your marketing. The third way is alarm. Now, I see this a lot in the mobile bar industry, but alarm threatens with negative consequences. So if you're marketing about fear, don't let your Uncle Bobby be your bartender because you could get sued, someone could get hurt, someone could get overserved. That's alarm. Or if you were marketing in another way that is fear-based, that's alarm. Now we do see this a lot. It's not necessarily one you'd want to overuse unless you really were truly trying to draw people who had fear around the bar experience. So lust, mystique, alarm. The next one is prestige. We see this one a lot in the mobile bar industry as well, but this one earns respect through symbols of achievement or status. And so if you're marketing in a way that's like, don't be like every other bar experience, make it extra special, level up the bar. That would be prestige because you're trying to tempt people into paying for an experience that would put them higher on the pedestal. And so that one is used a lot. The next one is power. Now, this is my primary form of prestige or primary form of fascination. So we use this quite a bit, and power is the commanding and controlling in that I know what I'm doing. I'm knowledgeable. I have experience here. You can trust me. Don't worry. I use this a lot in my mobile bar marketing as well. In that I have tons of experience. You are safe with me. You don't even have to worry about anything. Like our mission statement was literally, we make great event bars easy. You hand it to us, we got it. And because that's my primary form of fascination, again, if you're just tuning in, there's a test that you can take. I dropped the link in the comments. Hopefully it's coming through for you guys on the book that it comes from. And if you buy the book, you actually get a free test. If you want to pay for it, it's like $59. So for my marketing with my mobile bar, I used power a lot. And that's because it's my primary form of fascination, which means that I can show up well there and people resonate well when I do that. So because I don't have mystique as any of my primary forms, if I was to be like, slide into my DMs for more information, my ideal client would not resonate with that because it's not my primary form. Okay. Lust, mystique, alarm, prestige, power, vice. Vice tempts with forbidden fruit, causing us to rebel against the norm. So this shows up if you were to look at the archetypes. If you're a member of the Academy, we have a lesson on archetypes. There's an archetype that like Harley Davidson is like the rebel, right? So they show up with this archetype. And this is kind of a forbidden fruit, right? Like be naughty. We don't tend to see this a lot in the mobile bar industry because we are purveyors of a controlled substance. And so we really aren't trying to get people to do that. But every once in a while, I'll see a mobile bar that is using marketing in that like they go against the grain. They do serve shots. They'll, serve till 2, 3 a.m. They're like there for the party. That would be vice. The last one is trust. Now, trust comforts us with certainty and reliability. So if you were thinking, we do see some of this in the mobile bar industry. We see a lot in like the legal industry, the insurance industry. I think, what was the State Farm just did like a Super Bowl promotion. I haven't watched it, but it was really trying to evoke trust and reliability. You can count on us. We've been here for 100 years. We're always the first to show up after a natural disaster. You can trust us. This is a good one to use in mobile bars as well, right? Because we do sell or serve a controlled substance. We do have an impact on people's safety and how the event goes. So trust is a good one to use in your marketing. So if you're just tuning in, the reason I'm sharing these is because these are the 7 ways people are fascinated, and we can use these in our marketing to be better marketers of our business. And there are 7 of them. They are in the book that I linked in the comment section. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll link it again afterwards if it didn't come through. But a quick review of the 7 triggers of fascination. So if you're like, how should I show up today? You can use one of these 7. There's lust, which creates a craving for sensory pleasure. Mystique, which lures with unanswered questions. Alarm, which threatens with negative consequences. This is my alarm is my least. They'll tell you your top 2 and then your bottom one. Alarm is my bottom one. Prestige, which earns respect through symbols of achievement. Power, which commands and controls. Vice, which tempts with forbidden fruit, causing us to rebel against norms. And trust, which comforts us with certainty and reliability. So I don't know if that's helpful to you. I thought this was so helpful that I literally took notes while reading the book, because every once in a while when I'm writing copy, I'm looking which method of fascination should I pull the trigger on today? And again, these are all subconscious. People want to be fascinated. They are fascinated, and they are fascinated in one of these 7 ways. You probably have a primary way that you like to be fascinated, but you would be fascinated by any of these, just like your ideal clients would be. So hopefully this was helpful and inspires you to kind of play with how you show up in the world. Maybe even read the book, which I thought was a really fascinating. I guess it would have to be really fascinating since it is a book about fascination. Anywho, that is it for my lesson today. I don't know if anyone has any questions, either about the methods of fascination or just general mobile bar questions. Drop them in the chat. For anyone's wondering, the lesson that I referred to earlier when I first got on, I did a half-day workshop with the Exceed group coaching program, and we talked about this this test and how they fascinate, their primary form of fascination. We also did the DISC assessment, which is my favorite way of identifying how you show up in your working world. And then we did if anyone's read Rocket Fuel, they talk about visionary versus integrator. And we did that test. Everybody in the Exceed group, it's not surprising, shows up as a visionary. A lot of entrepreneurs show up as visionaries. But the reason we did that exercise was because it's important to find what you need in your business to complement your own personal skill set. And so since the people in the group are all primarily visionaries, the work there to be done as they scale their business is to seek out integrators, people who can actually put systems in place, hold people accountable, manage people, etc. Most entrepreneurs are more idea people than doing people and managing people. And this is just the open Q&A part. So if you're just joining, feel free to drop any business related questions, mobile bar related questions. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, she's read a number of books, or wrote a number of books, and different versions. The one that I read was How the World Sees You. Very good, very easy read too. I like authors that kind of write casually, conversationally. Obviously, Mike Michalowicz is one that writes that way, and Sally also does. It's an easy read and fun. Any questions? If not, I'll just hop off and we got one. If you have a primary form of fascination that you market, how often should you switch it up? Or should you stick with your primary only? And on that note of visionary versus integrator, can you give an example of a good integrator position to hire? Yeah, so I'll start with the primary form of fascination. I like to switch it up. And the reason I like to switch it up, but I like to play with my two primary. Um, if I try and show up with any of the others because they're not innate for me, it's very challenging. So if you take the test, it'll give you the primary two. And I would say stick with those two. You can throw in another form every once in a while, but it's harder for you to show up that way because it's not natural. It doesn't come very natural. So for me, alarm, which is the one where it's like you threaten with negative consequences, it feels so icky for me to do that I don't like to do it. Now, every once in a while, I'll do it as a way of like shaking things up. But I just usually the top two are the ones that I go with. And as for the visionary versus integrator, my favorite first hire for the mobile bar business specifically, when you have the revenue to do it, is an operations manager. And the reason being is that most entrepreneurs that show up with a visionary strength, they hate routine tasks. They get lost in the details. It creates an inconsistency from experiences. So, like one client, maybe you send out your pre-event questionnaire 90 days out, and the next one you're doing it 45 days out, and it's just because you didn't feel like doing it one day, or you forgot entirely because checklists aren't a visionary's thing. Doing repeat tasks, attention to detail, like none of these things come easily to a visionary, and they're very draining. And so the more, and we teach this in the Exceed program, but the more you show up outside of your zone of genius, the more your work and your business feels like a job and it just stops being fun. So we want people to show up in the way that comes easiest and that like is their zone of genius. And so if you're a visionary, chances are you would benefit from an ops manager, someone who can do all the checklists, someone who can create the standard operating procedures so that we do it the same way, all of that kind of tedious stuff that visionaries just really don't enjoy. So that'd be my first integrator position that I'd recommend. Good. If you have tons of questions, that's why I do these, is so that people get at least 10, 15 minutes to ask any and all questions. Let's see. How do you know when to let go of the 9 to 5 and go all in? It's a really good question. For me, it became really obvious when I was having to turn down events because of my 9 to 5. And I'll be honest, the business was making over $100,000 in revenue before we got to that point. So while it was kind of scary, it was a no-brainer in that I had to make a decision. Do I either turn away business to keep my job, or do I go all in my business? And because I was getting leads, because people were asking for dates, I knew I had momentum. And so I waited until it became a clear decision where I had to pick. And then I gave myself a boundary. So I said, if I couldn't get the business to where I needed it to be in order to be a full-time job by this date, then I would go back and get a regular job, right? Because the jobs are always there. And the reason that's important is because our psychology strives for goals. So if you give yourself a hard deadline, you're more likely to do anything possible in order to hit that deadline. So if you don't have a goal and you're just like, I'm just going to quit my job and we'll see how it goes, without that hard and fast number as to what success looks like, you're less likely for it to be successful. You're not feeling the ninja book. This must be Paul. Only listened to it for about an hour. What did you love about it? I just really, really, well, first of all, I'm a mindset person. And I've read enough books and done enough to know that what he writes about works if you use that system. So, um, what I loved about it is that he utilized a lot of different methodologies that are proven to be successful, and he put them into a system that is replicable and people can implement. And so I loved how clean the system is, and I know that if people are actually to put it in action, that they'll get huge results. So that's why I like the book. That helps to turn. I do turn away now, but not 100K yet. I agree on the hard goal. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think if you're not making 100K top line in sales, or at least on pace to make 100K top line in sales, then there's not enough money in a mobile bar business to live off it. So that's why I always use the six-figure mark, to get your mobile bar to a six figures, because if you're not at six figures in sales yet, based on general profit margins, you'd be better off with a day job, revenue wise. From your post the other day about account at 5%, wouldn't you have to pay tax on it? Sure. Yeah, you have to pay tax on interest. Mm-hmm. They'll send you a form at the end of the year with the interest amount, whatever that is, and then you just give it to your CFO or CPA. You'll keep pushing. I can't see who that is. If that's Paul and you're saying I keep pushing, oh no, it's not. You're talking about your business. Do you have any book recommendations or recommendations in general for sales strategies? I get a lot of inquiries, but feel like I'm not converting as much. Well, Paul doesn't like the book, but Ninja Selling literally is a book about sales strategy, like for businesses. Now, it talks about real estate, but don't get bogged down in the real estate. It is a methodology that it can be applied to multiple industries, if not every industry. But I really like the strategy that he lays out for selling in that book. You know me and mindset, lockstep. Paul, I'm telling you, there's no differentiation between mindset and success. Anybody, Grant Cardone says this, and he's the most intense individual out there. Well, Gary Vee used to be, but he's a little soft now that he's like into the mindset stuff. Are you doing any of your get together closer to Florida? I see them scheduled for California. Yeah, the last one. No, we're not doing any others. The last one is actually the one in California. That was a hard decision because I really like doing the in-person ones, but they're so expensive and like there's no profit in it. But we just do it because they're fun. They're just so much work and they're so expensive to host that they just don't make any sense, because every time we sell the tickets, we get people that are like, hey, can this be virtual? It's like, but I show up virtual 99% of the time. This is like the only, except for our conference, it's the only in-person one. And so the only way to make them even like pay for themselves, I'll be honest, we've done the last two at a loss, is to increase the price. And like I was just talking to my husband, and he has a legal one coming up, and he paid $2,000. And I'm like, yeah, $2,000 we could pay for them. But I can't imagine being like, hey, spend $2,000 to come and, spend a day with me. When I can just take it virtually. So I'm going to turn that into a virtual workshop and do it that way. It kind of sucks to like sit on your butt a whole day. And it does take a whole day to get through the creating a visibility strategy for the year, but it's worth it. But yeah, no more in person. And the only in person that we'll be doing is the conference, which we're finalizing the committee members for, and then we'll get that planned and dates released as soon as we have them. Not sure why you can't see me, but this is Melissa at the Thirsty Ranch. Oh, okay. I thought it was Paul, because Paul is always critiquing my book selections. What are your thoughts on the availability of manufactured mobile bars of high quality, designed with proper ergonomics, commercial grade equipment, sanitary, stainless, etc.? What are your thoughts on the availability of manufactured mobile bars of high quality? Hmm. What type of thoughts are you looking for? Like, do I have some that I like, and would recommend, or a general critique of the overall mobile bar manufacturing industry? I have lots of thoughts. While I wait for your response there, I guess I can kind of weigh in a little bit on designed with proper ergonomics. So, horse trailers the manufacturers of horse trailers spent millions of dollars on every single one to ensure that they've been designed with proper ergonomics, or aerodynamics. But once you get inside them, obviously they're not built for bartending, right? They're built for horses. And so there's very little space inside them, width wise. And so you can't really make them wider. Um, that's I think part of the charm of the mobile bar industry is like anything can be a bar, and that's fun. The alternative is really to turn them into kind of what food trucks look like, and that's just not as pretty, or attractive. But there are, I think, more and more large scale manufacturers that are kind of going in that direction and will offer bars that look like that. Many people do them themselves and are pretty janky. Yeah, DIY. Yeah, that, and I think that's representative of the vast majority of people who get into this industry are not coming from a place of deep pockets, let's put it that way. We get entrepreneurs that are bootstrapping, they have minimal funds, and they can really build an empire with very little money in this industry, which not too many industries have that. So even if you were to do catering, catering has a lot more equipment requirements and require, a brick and mortar and all of that, right? And so that's kind of one of the unique and special things about the mobile bar industry is that it doesn't require a ton of capital to start up and get going. And so as a result, we tend to see a lot of DIY, a lot of people teaching themselves how to do things and showing up in ways that are outside their comfort zone because you need to build a business, you either spend time or money. And the vast majority of people who get into this industry don't get into this industry because they have a lot of capital to get into this industry. There are some, but not many. And so DIY is what we see. When we see the really expensive rigs, they usually come, uh, what do I want to say? They come from people of more wealth and means or have access to business loans. Not everybody does. Not everybody would get approved for a business loan. And so when you see the fancy rigs come on, and I've seen them $35,000, $40,000, they are coming from a community or a different person who has a different background and that they have access to capital and funding and loans, savings that not the vast majority of people in this industry just don't. So we see a lot of people that DIY. And it's also one of the reasons why I say be very careful when you buy secondhand rigs, because the chances are that they were built out well, are slim, if that matters to you. And it doesn't always matter to people. Everyone sees these gorgeous Instagram photos, and I'm like, I bet you if you saw that in person up close, it wouldn't look like that. And this industry has gotten a little bit less approachable. When I bought my rig, it was like $16,000. My camper built out, brand new, $16,000. You couldn't touch it for that now. I think it's double the cost now, and it's only 5 years later. So it is pushing, I think, some people out. It's also why I don't tell people I tell people you don't need a rig to get started in this industry. I think that you should wait to buy a rig until the business can support the funding of the rig. It's just a lot of people spend $30,000 on a rig and then they use it 10 to 15 times a year. I have clients that do over $1 million a year in revenue, and they'll pull out the camper 15 times in a year. You don't need it, is what it is what I'm saying. But yeah, a lot of those DIY rigs can be pretty janky, but they're still pretty on Instagram usually. Any other questions? Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry about the confusion with the name up here, Melissa. Well, we are at time, so hopefully you guys found this helpful. We'll do this again next week. Keep an eye out for the event invitations. We try and post them all the places. And next week we'll have a new business building topic. So this week, go out and fascinate.